Pull up everything in my heart right now into 4 heavy balls. I will throw them at you. You may duck, or you may throw them back, or you may help me throw them farther. First of all, we had our first meeting last night. It was not supposed to be the first. It was supposed to be the first and last. I just invited listeners to join me in a small meeting. It did not turn out to be that small because everybody who got an invitation came. Many of them brought friends. These are WABC listeners who are fed up. The name of our group is Enough. They are fed up with opportunistic media, opportunistic politicians, and racial hustlers pushing New York towards Beirut. They came. I almost wept when I walked into the room at the composition of the group. If Hollywood had seen the WABC listeners who wanted to fight racism and discourage polarization and vaccinate New York against violence, it's like an uprising of the middle. When I walked in and saw that composition, if a Hollywood casting director had seen it, he'd have thrown us all out for being too Hollywood. They were black and white and Hispanic, male, female, young, old, rich, poor, liberal, conservatives. They could have spent all night long debating every antagonism that they had about each other, but they didn't. They sat there in the right spirit and just said, how can we in the middle rise up and let the racial extremists know that we are the real New York, and they shall not be heard and not be heeded. There will be a second meeting. When I asked who would be willing to help plan where this group goes from here, I didn't take names right there. I always like to wait. Give a phone number, make them call, let them cool off. If they cool off, I don't want their names if they cool off overnight. You understand?
Sure.
And almost every hand came out and every pen came out and everybody wrote down the names. So you may be hearing more about this uprising of the middle that simply does not want New York to become a Beirut, and will let the racial hustlers know that we are not buying their act anymore. The Soviet Union, now a social democracy. I cannot wait to get Lev Navrazov on the phone after the first commercial break and tell him that I just heard over a television newscast that the way they played the news of the Communist Party meeting in Moscow was, and I quote, "The Soviet Union yesterday became a social democracy." Let's get the opinion of a former Soviet official on that. The inclusionary laws made page 1 of the New York Times today, top of the page.